आज रात 12 बजे से
This one is exciting. We have Sagar Sheldekar in the house. We caught up with him from his home studio and he speaks about his journey as a speed junkie and his tryst with YouTube. He currently runs Living It Up, that is probably the most cinematic motorcycle reviews from an Indian YouTube channel. He was also a coach from the elite California Superbiker School. Sagar speaks candidly on what excites him about motorcycles that keeps him going.
Thanks so much, Sagar. How's it going?
Going as well as it can go, considering we are locked up in our houses and we cannot really ride our motorcycles, so it sucks, but it's okay. It's for the greater good, so that we can ride like never before.
So, what exactly is the story? How did motorcycles happen to you?
For that, I have to thank my elder brother. He had a CBZ and he would go for his rides. He would like kit up and go for rides, and I had no idea what he was up to. And one fine day, he came up to me and he's like, "Hey, why don't you come with me for a ride?" And I was like very suspicious. I'm like, that's never happened. I don't know what he's up to. And he made up wear all of this riding kit and everything, jacket and knee pads. And I'm like, okay, it was exciting, but also I was like very skeptical, like, where is this going? And then we go to this place called Mahabaleshwar, which is quite close from Pune. And on the way down, so the climb up to Mahabaleshwar is this really nice curvy section. So on the way up, it was great. He took me to this place called Harrison's Folly, which is this amazing vantage point of sorts. Then on the way back, he just leaned back and he's like, okay, hold on tight. And then he just started leaning the bike till the point that the foot pegs were scraping. And this is not really like a sporty bike, right? This is a CBZ. I realized then that this was his way of getting back at me for all the bad things that I'd done to him. I was 100% sure that he wanted to kill me, and he had a valley in case my parents wondered what happened. But then halfway down the mountainous section, I stopped screaming in my helmet and actually started enjoying, whatever he was doing, the motion, going into the corners. And by the time we reached the base of the mountain, I was hooked. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. I've never felt so alive ever. So that's how it all started. But I mean, that was the trigger. But I had to wait a long time because my dad was actually very strict. I had to wait until I bought my own bike from my own money at the age of 25. So this ride happened when I was 16. And I had to wait till I was 25 till I could ride my own motorcycle. And yeah, that's how it started.
And then very quickly, then it seems that you hopped over to YouTube and started a channel called Power to the Rider.
No, actually what happened was, so at the age of 25, I finally got my R15. That was the first time that I got my knee down. I thought I was the coolest rider on earth. And then a lot of my friends were like, hey, you're so cool, so why don't you go to the racetrack? And I'm like, yeah, cool, I'll kill everybody there. And I go there and I was completely devastated. I was so slow. That was the moment of realization where I'm like, okay, this is the point where you cut down your ego, you accept that you suck, and you just get better. And what better environment than the safe confines of a racetrack where you race with the best talent in India. And that obviously paid off because when I got back to racing the next year, I got my best results. I never got on the podium, unfortunately, but I was always 4th, 5th. I learned a lot. And that's when this opportunity of Power to the Rider came by, where they had everyone but the last piece of the puzzle, which was a rider. And the person who formed Power to the Rider, Rohan, back then was a good friend of mine. And so he approached me, hey, do you want to do it? And I'm like, sure, why not? Because it started off as a part-time activity. We would only do this over the weekends when we were not working. And no one really knew that it would become power drift and whatever it is today. But I knew that I would never ever be able to afford. I still cannot afford these amazing motorcycles that I get to ride, which I'm lucky enough to ride. So I took that opportunity with both my hands, and the rest is history.
So you did power drift for a good 7-8 years.
Yeah.
It's still probably one of the nicest channels to for your motorcycle enthusiasts. Suddenly decided to quit all of that and then get back to the racetrack and become a hardcore racer, or probably teach the guys.
So I couldn't race. I stopped racing because I had a really bad accident on the road, and I broke my back. I almost got paralyzed. Yeah, so I stopped racing. I continued being an automotive journalist. But then after doing that for a good 8 years, I felt that I had stagnated as a rider. I felt that I was just spending enough time on the motorcycle to understand it, to review it, and to give people, all the information that they require to make an informed choice about making the purchase or no. I felt that I was not really growing as a rider, and that's when this opportunity came by, where CSS, the school which had taught me everything I knew, gave me the opportunity to try out to become a coach. It was a big deal for me, and I'm like, okay, I have to give this a shot. It's a very difficult process. It's a very tedious process. Very few people actually get the offer even to try out. And even when you try out, only about 5% actually make it as a coach. I mean, it was hell, because it was by far the toughest thing that I've done. Going through the interview process, going through the tryout, and then after that actually getting trained. But I was very happy that I could do it, and I made it through. Unfortunately, I could not pursue it even more. There were some complications. There was things going on in the background, like CSS England, or rather UK, were mainly handling CSS India. Now it changed hat to some, I think, CSS Australia. So there was a lot of things up in the air, and also that's when Castrol came on board as a title sponsor for my own channel called Living It Up. And that was a big deal, because I never thought I could get back into videos, because video making, especially the kind of videos which I want to make, is very expensive. Getting that kind of equipment, getting that kind of talent to shoot you. But then when the monies came in through Castrol, they were really happy with the content I was generating. We got back into videos, and that was just the motivation I required. So CSS coaching again lit the fire in my heart. It made me a better rider than I already was, and that obviously, with me starting my own videos, made a big difference.
So for people like me who are scared of speed but still get excited about it, how do we begin?
I would say the number one thing to do is go attend a riding school like California Superbike School or ISBK, mainly because you need to have a safe environment where you don't have to worry about the dog crossing the road or oncoming traffic, right? So a racetrack is the best place. So even if, God forbid, you do fall or whatever, you have enough runoff area, and plus you are required to be in the full kit. So good chance that even if you fall, worst case scenario, you will get up and start riding again. And secondly, just knowledge is power. So if I can do it, so can you. It's just a question of understanding the technique and keep practicing it. The only difference between you and I is I have spent a lot of times practicing it till the point that it's become muscle memory. But it's just a question of understanding the technique and riding. And speed, more than anything else, is down to where you're looking. If you're looking further ahead, your sense of speed is a lot less, so you feel a lot more confident. But the faster you go, your survival reaction kick in, and you get stiffer on the bike, and you start looking a lot closer to the front tire. And that's when things become very scary. So
What are the motorcycles that you have at home for someone who's just lived around motorcycles?
the thing is, of course, when I was young, I always had these dreams. I wanted a big bike. I wanted to purchase it. I could have gotten a big bike many years ago. The thing is, my job, which is riding motorcycles day in and day out, leaves me no time at all to ride my own personal bikes. So I have a R15 which I ride every now and again, which is my everyday bike. And I have a RC390 which I've kept at the racetrack in Chennai. But I have not been to Chennai, I have not ridden that RC390 in the last at least 7 to 8 months. So now more than anything, I want to buy probably a KTM 790 Adventure so that I can continue riding off-road and I don't have to worry about other people or traffic or whatever, and I can be by myself.
What's your view on TVS picking up Norton?
It was, the rumors had been going on for quite some time, and honestly, I did not really believe it. But now that this has happened and it's official, I don't even know how to react. I'm obviously filled with a lot of pride. It's big, it's massive. For a company as prestigious as Norton, with such a rich history at the Isle of Man and everything, and the fact that an Indian company now owns Norton is is amazing.
What are the motorcycles that you're excited about for 2020? If they get launched with all the virus going around.
They will. If anything, they are. The good news is that everyone's just waiting for this lockdown to lift because people have products ready. So I'm pretty sure the 790 Adventure will be coming to India. And going by how good it was to ride when I was in Sicily with Pirelli, I cannot wait for that bike to get launched in India because I genuinely think it's a game changer. Having said that, I'm also really excited to see what Triumph have done with the Tiger 900. Everyone's going gaga about that bike. Rally, the road not as much, the rally for sure.
Tell me a bit, so before we end up, I'd love to know more about your current project of Living It Up and what exactly is it about?
So again, this goes back to the time when I decided to quit power drift because I felt I'd stagnated as a rider. I felt that I was shit off-road and I was terrified of adventure motorcycles, and I knew for a fact that the only way I can get better is more saddle time and obviously professional training. So I went to Big Rock, I trained under Nelly, understood the basics, and now that I knew the basic, it was a question of putting in the hard yards, putting in as much saddle time as possible. Because unlike road, off-road, how do you categorize off-road? You could be riding on the sand, you could be riding on dirt, you could be riding in the gravel, you could be riding on the beach. Everything is so different. And even now, every single time I get on a bike and I go ride off-road, I felt this huge satisfaction because every single time I learned something new. Which was the whole premise of Living It Up, is I wanted to spend more time with every motorcycle which I get. So every motorcycle which you see now on the website, I've lived with it for a month. And secondly, I wanted to try my hand with a lot of things. So like suspension tweaking, truly understanding what all this advanced technology does to the motorcycle, how does it help you. So Living It Up was me experimenting with all of these things and sharing it with anyone who owns the bike or endeavors to purchase it at some point in the future, you know. So my main aim behind the series was to help people understand what every technology does, what suspension tweaking does, what preload, rebound, compression actually do, how do they help you, and why you should try your hands at it, because that really transforms your motorcycle into the bike which you really always wanted. So that was the whole website, and then of course now we are again back with videos. On YouTube, I realized that people were still not as familiar with Living It Up. They would end up searching for my name, so that's why we just ended up keeping the YouTube channel as Sarge Sheldekar Official. So that's where you'll find all my motorcycle reviews. So whatever I was doing at Power Drift, now I'm doing the same thing in my own personal capacity on Sarge Sheldekar Official on YouTube.
Super Sagar, thanks so much. All the best for your new venture.
Thank you.
We hope that you'll come back on the road soon once the lockdown ends.
I cannot wait. I'm counting down the minutes. Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Sagar.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Tell us in the comments below who you'd like us to catch up with, and we'll get them here. Don't forget to like this video, to share this video, and follow Trip Machine for more such content. We will see you guys very soon with another episode of Bikers on PMS.
आज रात 12 बजे से